Hi everyone, this is Lauren Padlo with Montague Miller and Company. We're here today shooting one of our Q&A series with real estate related professionals. Today I'm here with Alex Rayfield. He owns Realtors Choice Home Inspections, and let's get started. Alex, tell me a little bit about your background and career as an inspector and an engineer.
Yeah, absolutely. First off, thank you for having me here. Really appreciate it. I started out as a engineer, graduated from the University of Alabama. I then went to Texas for a few years working as an engineer, which after a few years I transferred to Roanoke, Virginia. At that point I was doing structural design, learning to become a professional engineer in structural engineering. From that point, I was offered a transfer to the construction side of the house in Washington, D.C., and spent a number of years up there. So in total, I've been designing and in construction a little over 10 years, and I got my professional engineering license in 2018. So from the design side, I have done about $3 billion worth in design work, spanning around the globe, the majority of my work being in the Middle East, doing Air Force base design, administrative buildings. Here stateside, I've done some healthcare expansions and full healthcare designs. One that hits sort of close to home is in Waynesboro, the Augusta Health Hospital. I helped on the design for the steel structures that make up the new emergency room entrance and the three-story steel and glass rotunda. So how I got into home inspections is I was working in DC, knew that I wanted to get out of the commercial side of things, and I wanted to get back to my roots, which was residential. The whole reason I got into structural engineering is because back in 2011, specifically April 27th, I was in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, in school, about to graduate, and that day in Alabama history is the largest recorded tornado outbreak ever. There was over 200 tornadoes that touched down in the state of Alabama, the largest being one that came through the heart of Tuscaloosa and was right on the border of EF4, EF5. 1.5 miles wide, 190 miles an hour, and it basically leveled the town. Did a lot of damage, including my old neighborhood was gone, and it sort of gave me purpose to my education. And from that point on, I knew that structural design and updating codes is what I wanted to do, and I sort of got a little bit away from that on the construction side in DC, and I knew it was time for me to get back to that. And I thought a great way to do this was through home inspections. It's a great way, I like teaching, so it's a great way to do that. I can educate homeowners on exactly what they're buying, the components that make up their house to make it a home. I love teaching the homeowners about that. And it was just a great opportunity to get in front of a wide range of professionals, both real estate, tradesmen, custom home builders, to get my name and face in front of a lot of people and know the community.
Definitely. As many know, a home inspection is something that people get, during the closing process or before the closing process of buying a home. But are there other times when someone would want to get a home inspection done?
Absolutely, yeah. There's many times and different inspections that a home inspector can perform. The traditional is I'm buying a house, I need to know the current status of the house. Another one would be from the opposite side. Say you're getting ready to list your home for sale and you want to know, say you've been living there for 5 years or more, maybe 20, 30 years, and you want to know the overall status of the major components of the house. So that's a great way to get an inspector in there, know what's wrong that should be fixed or addressed, make things look a little nicer so your house shows better when you actually do list it and have potential home buyers coming in. It's a great way to shorten that negotiating time, shorten and lessen the amount of headaches that come along with the real estate process, and get you to the closing table, in a faster period of time. Some of the smaller or ancillary inspections are like wells. I can inspect well components, make sure that you have the right components that are rated for the type of home you have, number of fixtures, number of bathrooms, number of people that are going to be living there. Another large inspection that, especially here in Virginia, is radon testing, especially being right up next to the mountains here in the Orange County, Greene County area. We want to make sure that our home is protected against radon. Some more inspections that I do would be like thermal imaging. So with thermal imaging, you can really look at how well sealed your home is. You can take a look at the energy efficiency of your siding or your exterior, your windows, your roof, your HVAC system, your electrical system. All these things play into how energy efficient your home is. And also your interior finishes plays a key role in it as well. So I can come in, do what's called a home energy audit, and give you a score of how good your home is sealed up, how energy efficient it is, and I can help you come up with ways to save money in the long run on your heating and cooling bills.
And I'm sure that's something that owners want to know, or potential buyers as well, because that plays into how much you end up paying per month and over, long term if you have to replace anything. So
exactly, yeah. So it's a small price up front, but with those, and the majority of the fixes that I find are not expensive fixes. It's very manageable things that homeowners can do themselves, and then immediately see returns on their investment for buttoning up their house a little better. So another inspection that I can perform is new construction. Say somebody is building their dream home, their custom built home that they've been wanting forever. I can take you from the time that we break ground till the time the contractor turns the keys over to you, with multiple different inspections to make sure that what is being built one, correctly, and that you're getting what you're paying for. So foundation inspections, making sure that if you have a concrete foundation, either basement walls or slabs, that you have the right amount of rebar, that the depth is correct, that the right concrete is being used. And then we can move into more of like a pre-drywall finish after the framing is done, but none of the drywall is up. So it's just bare, open structural framing. I can come in, one from an inspection standpoint, and also using my structural engineering knowledge to make sure that you have a sound structure before everything gets covered up. And that also goes for your HVAC system, your plumbing that's in the walls, your electrical that's in the walls, to make sure that all this is done using the accepted construction methods that we have nowadays to ensure that your house is built correctly.
do you ever go in, say, like before the 1 year mark for new construction?
Absolutely, yeah. That's one thing that I highly advise my clients with new construction is you're going to get a warranty from your contractor. Different contractors have different warranties, but at the end of the day, you should have somebody, an inspector, come back in at least 1 to 2 months before that warranty expires and do an overall check on all the systems that are covered under that warranty. Because if something's about to fail, then we want to make sure we get that noted. Or if something's not working the correct way that it was designed to work, no fault to the homeowner, we want to make sure that we get those things noted, addressed, presented to the contractor before that warranty expires. And then we can go into the finer comb details of how do we get it addressed, how do we get it fixed, what works with the contractor, all those types of things. So from 6 months before you move into that house all the way up to that 1-2 year mark, I can be with you that whole way to make sure that you understand how your house is put together, how the components all work together to make a home, and then how we can keep that home running smoothly and the most efficiently.
I think that's very important for people to know at home, that you do more than just, the one time, we put an offer on a house, it's time to do the inspection. You do a lot more than that. Because when my husband and I bought our house, we bought a new house, we got the inspection, the one, before closing. And then we didn't know that it was a possibility to get another one before the 1 year mark. So now we have a house 3 years later that has some things that probably could have gotten fixed without us having to pay. But, we were first time home buyers and also just didn't know. Yeah. So I think that's a good takeaway from this too, for people to know that you do a lot more than just the one thing.
Absolutely, yeah. And with all my clients, whenever folks call me to book an inspection or just to find out information, like I would say my average time spent on the phone is probably 30 minutes with each person. Like I like to talk through things, make sure that we're all on the same page, that you have as much information at your disposal before you make this. For most people in this world, it's the biggest investment that we have. So I want to make sure that I do my due diligence and that you are armed to make the best decision possible. I guess one last inspection that it doesn't really fall under the home inspection umbrella, but more because I'm a licensed structural engineer. Say you don't choose me for your home inspection, and something comes up from your inspector that says that you might need to consult a structural engineer or have something further evaluated by a structural person. That's when I can come in and can do a structural inspection, either for whatever the problem may be, either cracking of a basement wall or the framing doesn't look right or whatever it may be. That's something that I can use my professional engineering license coupled with my home inspection knowledge to come in, assess the situation, and can give you either prescriptive fixes for using structural codes to either upgrade or correct an issue. I also give a lengthy written report of the background of the issue, the observations that I found on site that day, and then my conclusions and my professional opinion. And if remediation does need to happen, then I usually can draw up drawings. If we need to submit to counties, I know many of the permitting office officials in the surrounding counties, so I can help you through that process as well.
Okay. So kind of a perk of working with you versus other home inspectors is that, of course, you have the structural engineer background, and if you come upon those things, you don't have to consult an expert because you are the expert. So
yeah.
All right. So what are some of the things that you check during a home inspection?
Yeah. So I look at a home inspection as it's a full package. So from top down, outside in is how I do everything. So when I show up to site, my first 30-45 minutes are going to be spent outside. I'm going to, once again, go from the top down. So I'm going to start at the peak of your roof. If it's a roof that I can get on, then I'm going to traverse the roof, make sure that all the roof covering, all your flashings, everything looks good there. Then looking at your gutter systems, your downspouts. From there, I'm going to look at your exterior siding, whatever material makes it up, stone, brick, vinyl siding, etc. From that point, I'll take a look at the windows, making sure that the windows aren't leaking, that you have your proper flashings there, that everything's caulked up. And then from there, I'm going to look at your electrical, look at the electrical outlets outside. I'm going to take a look at your plumbing outside, the hose bibs. And then from there, I'm going to take a look at your entrance and exit doors. If you have a garage, I'll take a look at the outside of your garage door. And then I'm going to look at grading. I'm going to look at trees. I'm going to look at power lines. I'm going to look at your driveway. I'm going to look at neighboring houses too, to make sure that that they might be built somewhat similar to yours, so that we have the same looks. And then from there, going inside, it's going to be the same thing. It's going to be top down. So I'm going to start in the attic. I'm going to look at your structural framing of the roof. I'm going to look at the insulation. If your air handler or your furnace is in the attic, I'm going to take a look at that there. Coming down into the interiors, I'm going to make sure that all the finishes are in pretty good shape. I'm going to look at your entirety of your electrical system, the entirety of your plumbing system, your mechanical system as well. Going into some of the common areas for like the kitchen, I'm going to make sure all the appliances that are there, hooked up and present, all work. If there's anything that needs to be noted, I do. Looking at flooring, I'm looking at carpets, looking at tile, hardwoods, LVP, all these types of things. Going down into basements, whether it's finished or unfinished, it doesn't matter to me. I'm going to take a look at it. Sump pumps, if there's a sump pump present, if there's wells present, all these, pretty much if you can see it and you can put your fingers on it, I'm going to take a look at it. I'm going to inspect it. I'm going to make sure that that piece is working well with the overall puzzle.
All right. So now that you've kind of gone over what you include in a home inspection, what do you exclude? Like, what do you not look at?
So when I was talking on the well components, if I'm there to just do the home inspection, then I'm not going to look at the well. The well for me is an additional service. Okay. So that's something that if the client wants me to look at the well, then we include that in the quote, then I'll take a look at that. But as for typical everything that's in every home, I pretty much include in my inspections. There's a lot that I go above and beyond what is included in the standards of practice for a certified home inspector. I think that the standards of practice are the bare minimum, and that's the standard that the governing agencies have set. Yeah. And I feel I would be doing my clients a disservice if I only did the bare minimum standard.
So when you find issues in a home or problems in a home, how do you approach that with your client, the buyer, seller, whoever you're working with? How do you bring that to them without alarming them?
Yeah, great question. So during the inspection, I find an issue. At that time, I'm hoping that the client is there with me. And even if they're at the house, but they're not with me, right by my side at that point, I take pictures of it, I take notes of it, and then typically at the end of the inspection, I get everybody together, the realtor that's there, my clients, and we all sit around the table and I go through every single picture that I took that day. I discuss in detail exactly what I saw, and say that issue pops up in one of those pictures. If the client wants to put their eyes and hands on it physically, we walk to the problem area, we talk it out there, and then secondly, I will take it back and obviously put it in my report. Depending on the type of issue, it is different escalations. There's minor issues that, can be addressed down the road as the homeowner's living in the house, like typical maintenance that I consider around that any homeowner has to do, like changing filters for your HVAC system. Larger issues that need to be addressed by a trade professional, I bring up and suggest that these need to be fixed now during the real estate transaction process, and that I do not consider the house to be a correctly functioning or a safe place based on whatever issue that may be. So that's typically how I bring it to the attention. And then after issuing the report, I want my clients to take about 24 hours to review the report and come up with a number of questions. And then on the back end of the inspection is when I like to have another conference call with every client. Depending on the house, it's 10 minutes or it could be 30 minutes long. I've had some that have lasted over an hour. And we go through the report line by line, exactly what they want their questions answered or their concerns, to be heard. And we talk everything out so everybody's on the same page at every step along this process. And then I tell all my clients that even after the inspection's done, the real estate transaction's done, you're living in the house, if something pops up 6 months later, give me a call. give me a call. And if it's still the same way that it was during my inspection, I'm happy to come back out. If I'm in the area, I'll come back out for a few minutes, take a look at what's going on, and try and put you in contact with the right contractor or the right tradesperson that can help you out and get this problem addressed.
And do you have like a large network that you're working with of, people that can address these issues quickly, or, do you have friends in the industry? How do you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I have colleagues that I've worked with previously that have their own businesses and in their own trades. I've met a ton of people in the Fredericksburg area, the Culpeper area, the Charlottesville area that are trades professionals, or they are realtors or brokers and have their set of people as well. And I'm a part of the Orange County Chamber of Commerce, and in that Chamber of Commerce we have a plethora of tradesmen and local businesses. So I like to support my local businesses as much as possible. So I've made great relationships with a number of these folks, and we all work together to make sure that we address all the issues for a homeowner.
So let's wrap it up, and I just have one last question for you. If you had to give some advice to someone, in the process of home buying, or someone who is unsure if they need a home inspection, but they probably do, what's some advice or just like a little tidbit of knowledge that you want to bestow upon people as a home inspector?
If someone comes up to me and asks why should they get a home inspection, I'm going to simply say that it is a small price to pay to have the peace of mind and the confidence going into the remaining portion of that real estate transaction and closing and actually buying this house, to know that you're not getting a lemon, that you're getting exactly what you're paying for, that you know exactly the status of what's going on in this house that you have not lived in yet, that you know exactly how it's going to run. There's little finicky things with every house. There is no such thing as a perfect house. So to know these small details, whether they're small details or whether they're large details that can cost a lot of money, it's a very small price to pay up front for what could be large number headaches in the future. In my experience, and it's not always true, but it holds true for the majority of homes, that the price of a home inspection typically costs around 0.1 to 0.15% of the overall asking price. So we're talking 0.1%,
Like
minuscule compared to what you're actually buying.
Yeah.
Say we're buying a $300,000 house that we're going to be paying for the next 20 to 30 years. To me, it makes total sense to spend that $300-400 up front to know exactly what's going on, so I'm not stuck with the house that I need to get out of 6 months down the road or 2 years down the road because there's a $30,000 piece of equipment that has gone out and I can't do anything with it.
Yeah, and I think that goes to add on to that, new construction as well, because I think a lot of people think it's brand new, everything is working, everything was done just right, and that's not always the case.
Yeah.
And so home inspectors have your back when the builder might not. And I just want to thank you so much for joining me today, for doing this interview, and I think this will be very helpful for anyone wanting to buy a home, or even people that already own a home but want to know more about their home. So I really thank you for joining me and doing this.
No, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it.